Let me reset the room really quickly. So, we're talking about vertical startups and what a vertical startup is. It's a company that's hyper focused in delivering value to a very specific niche. And why this is important, why you should care, I know you might be wondering, especially if you're like me, a recent business school graduate. Let me tell you, I was never once taught this information. It was never mentioned to me. I was never even aware this could happen. So, if you're an aspiring founder that wishes to keep complete and total freedom of their startup, then this information is for you. If you're interested in learning more, we recently hosted a vertical startup summit. Tickets for the summer summit were actually $97, but we separated the top 5 replays of this talk just for you. So if you're interested, DM us the hashtag VSS as in Vertical Startup Summit. You can find our Instagram on our Clubhouse bio. Sorry, I got tongue tied. So yeah, please don't miss out on this information. You will love it.
Good job, Anna. Yeah, public speaking is really, really difficult and it's really easy to get tongue tied. But thank you so much for resetting the room. Just as Anna said, we have we had a vertical startup summit and lifetime access was $97 for all the entire talks. However, if you want the top 5 talks, which is some amazing talks, send me a DM with the hashtag VSS and I will be more than happy to share that with you. One of my favorite talks from these replays is how to prep your startup for acquisition and from one of the top internet company M&A firms. And then you'll also learn the quick way founders are building wealth with the digital asset flywheel, which means fast tracking success in the digital world. You will also learn the common mistakes founders make when pitching sharks from the head of casting at Shark Tank. And finally, we have a talk from Reem Karbat, who is a woman in Saudi Arabia who went from 0 to 7 figures in her B2B SaaS application or SaaS business using this vertical method. So if you want access to the talk, send me a DM with the hashtag VSS. I will be more than happy to share that with you. So what kind of businesses can I build by going vertical? Vertical startups include startups such as Dollar Shave Club, Peloton, Warby Parker, MVMT Watches, and Bonobos. And to speak to the potential of vertical startups, Unilever recently acquired Dollar Shave Club for $1 billion in cash. And The Honest Company is worth $10 billion. But we don't even have to get ahead of ourselves and start thinking in the billions. I emphasize building a vertical startup that's aligned with your core identity. So even getting 5,000 customers, which is not that hard, to pay you $100 a year, which is not that hard, into a business that aligns with your lifestyle, that's a $500,000 a year. Imagine what you could do with that cash flow, the ideas that you can fund yourself instead of having to go chase investors. So instead of spending all your mental energy and focus on chasing investors, you can actually spend your energy and focus on delivering value to your audience. Vertical startups work especially well with the following business models. It works well with apps, so any kind of mobile apps, desktop apps. It works well with software as a service. It works well with services. It works well with physical products, so subscription boxes. Anything that could be niched down is a great candidate for a vertical startup. So fashion, music and entertainment, health and wellness, books, beauty, e-commerce, artisanal products, food and beverage, any of these niche products and services are great candidates for vertical startups. Now, when I say niche, let's clear up some vocabulary just to make sure that everyone is on the same page because the word vertical gets tossed around so many different times. So I just want to clear the air really quickly. In business, you might hear vertical integration. That's not what we are talking about. That is the supply chain world. We are talking about marketing. So marketing verticals. So in marketing verticals, you have different types of verticals. You have industry verticals and you have psychographic verticals. You have demographic verticals. We are talking about psychographic verticals. We are niching down into psychographics. And once you start doing this, interesting things start happening. You actually start building a magical process for your company because you will build a system where instead of chasing customers, you are attracting customers. So let me show you how this works. Let's say that I am developing a mobile app for mothers. And as a new young founder, my whole idea is I've always been taught to go after, to go after the total addressable market size. So my thought process is I have this app for mothers. There's so many mothers in the world. Every mother, even if I can just get 1% of every single mother, I will have made it made, right? That's like usually how founders talk. They're like, if I can just sell one toothpick to every single person in China, then I will have it made. And they're trying to go after this huge market size. But once you do that, you're not speaking to anyone. When you're trying to market to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So if I came out here in this Clubhouse room and I said, hey everyone, I just developed this app. It's for mothers. And I'm over here on Clubhouse, I'm pitching my app. How many mothers in the room are actually going to be interested? And my guess is it's going to be zero because it doesn't speak to anyone. They're just like, okay, this sounds very vague. It doesn't speak to me at all. Once I start drilling down into a specific niche, and when I start drilling down into a niche, a lot of times founders would say, yeah, I know my niche. My niche is 18 to 35-year-old males that live here, and they're using all these demographic components. Well, that's not a niche. That is a range of different people. And again, if you are marketing to several people, you're marketing to no one. Once we start niching down, however, let's see how this magic works. So if I said, I have an app for mothers, and I started repelling people, the more people that I repel, the more interesting my app will become. The more people that I repel, the better I will have to attract my dream customer, the customer who's going to be the best fit for me and my product. So let's start repelling some people. So I have an app for mothers who have 5-year-old children. All right, now we just repelled anyone that does not have a 5-year-old child, right? But even if I said this in this Clubhouse room, I have an app for mothers who have a 5-year-old child. Okay, there might be a couple people in this room that fit that criteria, but they're like, I don't care, I have things to do, right? The people are busy and their attention is being pulled at all different angles. It doesn't speak to them. So we have to start repelling a little bit more. So if I say I have an app for mothers who have 5-year-old children, who have special needs, okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now some ears might start perking up. But even then, this is still a little too vague. And so let's start drilling down a little bit more. I have an app for mothers who have 5-year-old children who have special needs who are being homeschooled. Now, ding, 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 there's going to be some interest for this. There's going to be some ears that perk up. So in this Clubhouse room, even if no one fits this criteria that I just described, an app for mothers who have 5-year-old children who have special needs, who are homeschooled, I'm willing to bet that someone in this audience knows someone like this. And what's going to happen is that this person is going to become an evangelist for my company. This person is going to say, hey, Mary, hey, Kate, I just heard this guy on Clubhouse, and he was talking about how he has this app for mothers who have 5-year-old children who have special needs, who are being homeschooled, and I just had to tell you about it. Excuse me. Even without knowing what results I am bringing for people, what my app even does, people will start evangelizing for me, and people will start being attracted. The right people will be attracted to my product. So instead of chasing customers, I'm building something where I'm actually attracting customers. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to put myself in the investor's shoes and evaluate different companies thinking like an investor. And the reason that I like to do this is because as founders, we typically think differently from investors. As founders, we usually see some inequity in the world, some inefficiency or some injustice, and we want to fix it. We want to deliver some impact because we want to improve lives. We also want to be rich. Don't get me wrong. Like the profit is nice. We're not going to say no to money. Obviously, I mean, if you're delivering value, you should get rewarded for that and have a good life. But that's not what we're all about, right? We don't wake up in the morning saying, "I'm going to build this app so I can drive a Ferrari late at night." No, it's usually some kind of impact that we want to have. Investors, however, they're all about the ROI. They're all about the profitability. So let's imagine that we are investors. And as an investor, you are evaluating 3 different companies. So you have 3 options: company A, company B, and company C. And company A, they have a great idea and a kick-ass pitch deck. Like you love this idea, you love the team, you believe in the team, you believe that they'll make it happen, and they have this amazing pitch deck. Company B, They're also a great team with a great idea, with a kick-ass pitch deck, but they also have a working MVP. So to recap, company A only has a pitch deck, company B has a pitch deck and a working MVP. Company C doesn't have a pitch deck, doesn't have an MVP, but they do have a customer list of willing and able buyers. Now, as an investor, which company would you want to invest in? And you would obviously pick company C because they have the entire customer acquisition part figured out. All right, now let's transition back into our founder shoes. Imagine that you were just invited to Shark Tank. So we are now the visionary founders that we are with $1 million and $1 billion ideas. And you were just invited onto Shark Tank and you are super excited because you know that this is going to be a great opportunity for you. It's going to be great exposure. Not only is it going to be great exposure for your product or your company, but it's also going to be great for your personal brand. You can always say that you were an entrepreneur that was on Shark Tank. So you're on Shark Tank and you're backstage and you're waiting for your turn to go on and you're doing the pre-pitch interview. So the camera person is asking you backstage, how do you feel? And you start sharing. You feel amazing. You feel pumped. You feel super prepared. You feel like the sharks are going to love your idea. You feel like you're going to get so much traction. The sharks are going to love it. America's going to love it. The world is going to love it. And you just can't wait to pitch. Then the music starts, dun, 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 and the backstage doors start opening. And you see the sharks sitting there on the other side. There's 5 of them. And as you start approaching the stage, the sharks are getting bigger and the lights are getting brighter and brighter. And as you position yourself on stage, the lights are so bright, you can actually barely see in front of you. You can't even see the sharks anymore. You can see their pant legs and their shoes. And the light's so bright, not only is it bright, it's actually giving off a lot of heat. And the heat is uncomfortable. It was not as nice as it was backstage. This heat is uncomfortable, there's a lot of light, and it's disorienting you. And the thing is, they do this on purpose because the producers know that making you look uncomfortable makes for great TV. The producers know this, the sharks know this, so the sharks start nipping at your idea one by one. Why should I invest in you? Asked Mr. Wonderful. What makes your startup different from others? Asked Mark Cuban. And they're trying to make you sweat, but you are as cool as a cucumber because you've been preparing yourself through the vertical method. You've already engaged your customer list to prove you have product market fit. You prove that you can get your customers to give you money in a pre-sale. You're not even there to ask them for any money. You are there to offer them an opportunity. Because it's like this, who would get the investment for their thingamajig first? Would it be Kylie Jenner with her customer list? Or would it be someone with the exact same product without a list at all? It's an opportunity because you're coming at them from a position of strength. You don't just have an idea, you have an asset, which is your customer list. Your customer list is pretty much money in the bank. So this concludes the course for how to skip investor funding by going vertical. We talked about vertical startups, we talked about the vertical method, and we talked about what going vertical actually means. If you remember nothing else from this talk, just remember that vertical startups equals profit and happiness. And when you get profit and happiness, this gives you freedom. A vertical startup is a company that is hyper-focused on delivering value to a very specific niche. And we gave examples of how to do this. And we also talked about why this is important and how it's different from what they would teach you in traditional accelerator programs or business schools or what venture capitalists are looking for. And then we talked about the vertical method. The vertical method is how you create a vertical startup in a way that gives you profit, happiness, and freedom. The vertical method is a 2-prong approach. The first prong maximizes founder market fit or establishes founder market fit. And the reason why we're doing this is, well, let me back up. The first prong is to pick a niche that's congruent with your core identity. So when you do this, this establishes founder market fit. The reason that we're doing this is because a lot of founders, when they fail, they will give you excuses such as my co-founder left me, or I couldn't find an investor, or my startup ran out of money, or Google shut my ads account off and now we're out of business. They'll give you all these different kinds of excuses, but the real truth is they just lost motivation. They went into entrepreneurship thinking that they were building freedom for themselves, when really they realized that they were trapping themselves into a job. And the first obstacle that comes up, they use that as an excuse to bail because this is something that they don't want to do it anymore. Had they still retained their motivation, they would have figured it out. I 100% believe that they would have figured it out. So we are establishing founder market fit with that first prompt to pick a niche with your core identity that's congruent with your core identity. And the second prong is to use the GPDS framework, which helps you keep control of your company and your vision and not have to go to investors. So the GPDS framework, again, we grow a customer list first, then we pre-sell a minimum viable mockup, and I talked about what that is in the course. Then we develop our solution, and then we scale our solution. And again, each of these line items, there's nothing innovative there. Where the innovation lies is in the order of operations. Instead of building the MVP first, we are growing the customer list first. Instead of doing a crowdfunding campaign first, we are growing the customer list first. Growing the customer list first means money in the bank. So what I want to do right now is I want to invite people up on stage. If you have any questions about vertical startups, how to go vertical, or going to market, I am vertical startups, how to go vertical, or going to market, I am happy to help in those areas. However, if you have any questions about scaling, legal contracts, or crowdfunding strategies, those are areas that where I am not an expert, so I will shy away from those questions. But going to market, absolutely happy to help there. All right, we are bringing Naveen up on stage, and if anyone else wants to come up on stage, please let me know. And Anna, as people are coming up on stage, can you quickly reset the room?
Yeah, of course. Okay, guys. Well, here I go again. Welcome everyone. If you're just joining in, let me reset the room. So we're talking about vertical startup, and what vertical startup is a company that's hyper focused and delivering value to a very specific niche. And you may be wondering why this is relevant, why I should care. Well, let me tell you, this is the only way founders can find both profit and happiness. So,
Anna, tell them about the summit.
oh, okay. If you're interested in learning more, guys, we just hosted a vertical startup summit where we separated the top 5 talks for you guys, the best 5 replays of the whole talk. You can get those if you DM us the hashtag VSS to our Instagrams. You can find both our profiles on our Clubhouse bio. So, yeah.
Awesome job, Anna. Thank you so much. Hey, Naveen, how's it going? Welcome on the stage.
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you, Robin?
I'm doing fantastic. Actually, pretty excited. We just signed 2 new startups to my startup accelerator last week. One of them is a language learning app, and the other one is a physical product. And I'm super excited to help them start building their customer list.
That's really wonderful. What we are looking is, I'm an entrepreneur, basically, first thing. And what we are doing in the current market is we are working on a problem-solving technology. Like we do business listing and we market their product all over the globe. There is no such application in the current market who is doing like a business listing all over the globe. Okay. So what we are looking is we want to expand. Our first motivation itself is connect the entire globe in one single platform. All the business users like manufacturer, distributor, wholesaler, retailer, the freelancers, everyone. It's a complete B2B package application what we are trying to build. And there are only US, UK, China, India, Australia have this kind of advanced technology like business listing and business directories, all those things. But what we are trying is, as a business directory, we want to connect entire globe. There are so many small countries as well, like African countries, some part of African countries, some part of South American countries. They are all in a smaller shape and they all want to grow their business and make their product reach entire globe, but unfortunately they cannot able to do it. So what
What's
we are
the
looking forward is,
what's the challenge, Naveen?
The challenges is connecting globe is not an easy job. One thing. That is the main thing. So what we are looking is we want by using the clubhouse, we have all over the globe personalities here. So we want to connect them and we want every big industries like we have six categories to be
Naveen,
frank.
how
Food,
can I help? I'm a little confused how I can help. I understand the challenge is connecting everyone, but it sounds like you're working on this challenge. Do you have any
yeah,
question
we are
about
already
vertical
current.
startups?
Yeah, I have a question on vertical startups and even the small business because why we are doing this kind of platform, why we are bringing this kind of platform is one thing we want to help a small and medium business class to bring their business to the next stage because if
Naveen, I got it. So you want to build a worldwide business listing area where you're connecting wholesalers and everyone across different industries and different people. And the reason that you're doing this is because there's a lot of small players in smaller countries that don't have access to a global marketplace, and you want to fix this issue, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yes. How
that
can I
is the
help?
main point. So we are looking forward to work with everyone who can help us to fulfill this mission. Okay,
Awesome.
in whatever the sort, like they can do marketing or they can tell their connects to
Naveen, what's your
register here.
question? I need your question, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. Means like our question is, we are looking for an investor, one thing, and we are looking for a marketing because you are expert in marketing field. So we want to take your help to market our product in the your location or the in your group or the circle.
Naveen, okay, so I think what you're saying is you have this challenge where you have this worldwide product, and your question is how can you market this globally? Is that your
Yeah,
question?
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. How can
perfect.
I market it globally? One thing. And yeah, that's enough. Means you can answer that. We can talk.
Sure. Okay, so Naveen, the way that you market globally, what you're describing right now is going to be a very huge undertaking. And when you start doing huge undertakings without doing the small steps needed to get to that end goal, then you start building something that starts toppling over. It's like working out where you only do upper body and you don't work on your legs. And then the first time that you actually like have to like do anything that's athletic, you fall over. The way to do what you're suggesting is to actually break it down into smaller markets and smaller steps. So I'm going to give you an example of how Facebook did it. Facebook has a lot of the world connected. They have over $2 billion. I mean, I'm sorry, 2 billion people on their platform, and they're still growing. But the way Facebook did it is they didn't just have 2 billion people on day one. The way they did it is they went after a very small market size with a very special pain point and a very unique customer journey. That unique customer journey and pain point was how do we get Harvard students to meet other Harvard students so they can date each other? This was how Facebook was first started. Instead of thinking globally, they just attacked this problem. Once they started fixing this problem on the Harvard campus and they got everyone on Harvard onto their platform, and now people at Harvard are meeting each other, they're dating each other. They've learned a lot of things. They've learned a lot of things that will help them scale sustainably. So then they take this model that they've already proved that works at Harvard, and they've already have critical mass at Harvard. Then they start scaling it to other Ivy League schools. So then Facebook was in only Ivy League schools. Then Facebook eventually opened up the top 20 schools, and then all schools, and then now eventually they have most. They're about to get most of the world. So the way to do it is to start small, pick a very small customer journey, a very small niche, dominate that niche first, and then consider expansion. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon didn't just start off with Amazon Play Services and AWS servers and
Yeah,
everything that
definitely,
Amazon is
definitely. I
doing right now,
completely,
right?
completely agree.
Amazon started with
Uh,
books. Yeah, does that help,
Yeah,
Naveen?
completely.
All right, awesome.
Definitely. And what we are doing is we are working on a reverse
Naveen,
innovation.
yes, I do want to give Krish a chance to get up on stage and ask a question. Hey, Krish, how's it going?
Okay, thank you.
Most Most welcome. Hey, Chris.
Hello, Robin. I just wanted to ask you that from the investor's perspective, how do I find an investor that is not interested in money making? At the same time, he is very much interested in adding values to someone's life, like creating a business that literally adds value, like being the Amazon or being the Facebook which connects the world. So,
Yes,
like, I
Chris.
know investors which are money greedy. They invest in startups which have been already working, but like they have a local startups like the copied ones, but like what is the original idea? Like I want to find those kind of investors. Like how do I, can you help me with that?
Chris, the whole purpose of this room is to skip investor funding. So this
Yeah,
room is for freedom
I get that.
oriented.
I get
Yes.
that. I'm not asking like investing from the money perspective, like investing from the skill and experience perspective.
Are you asking how do you find co-founders to help you?
Not co-founders, like someone like mentors, or because you told about going vertical, right?
Hmm.
Scaling up vertical, like starting with a niche up, taking a niche and then scaling up.
Yes.
So but like how do I get the right mentorship to identify my niche and to scale up?
That's a good question, Chris. So I'm actually signing up people for my startup accelerator where we're actually doing this. So right now we have 4 startups that are starting with me, and the only thing that we're doing is we're building a customer list, and we're doing it in a way where we don't have to go seek investor funding, etc. So if you're interested in that, if you want to get on a call with me, if you go to launchwithrobin.com, you will be able to schedule a call with me. Once you schedule that call, there is a 10-minute application that'll ask you more questions about your idea and just to see where you're at. Even if you don't have a business idea, it does not matter because really the idea does not matter. What matters is the niche. Once you find the people and you identify the people that you want to go after, then everything else just goes downhill. So that's one way, Chris. Also, I have a podcast called the 6% Entrepreneur Podcast. I literally give away every single one of my secrets on these podcasts. These podcasts, each episode is around 5 to 8 minutes. There's zero fluff. It's only value. And if you need help to learn more about going vertical and these new developments that are happening when we're creating ventures, I think that podcast will also have a lot of information for you. And Chris, just what you're doing right now is fantastic, right? You're getting yourself out in front of people, you're talking to people, you're networking. This is the way to do it. You network with as many other startup founders and investors that you can, because the thing is, most investment actually comes from networking with other startup founders. I might talk to one investor one day and we might see that there's no fit between us, but maybe later on down the road, this investor is now my friend, and some other startup founder that is a better fit, I will try to connect those two. So it's really just getting in front of as many people as possible, using very creative and innovative ideas on how you can actually skip investor funding, and the content's out there as well. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, Robin, thank you. Like I really got in depth. Like I was trying to network with other founders like who have been running their business successfully, or like Instagram
Yeah,
through your Instagram.
absolutely. My DMs are open. I'm happy to talk.
Sure. I'll then text you over there.
Yeah, sounds good. Look forward to hearing from you, Chris. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robin, for giving me this opportunity.
Most welcome. Hey, Cole, how's it going?
Hello, Robin. One second. Call. Robin, even we need to connect with you. Means I have shared you a link in the LinkedIn. I have messaged you. So we also want to join and merge with your this one, your portfolio. Like you have already 4 companies with you
Yeah,
starting.
no, yeah, Naveen, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to schedule a call with me, if you go to launchwithrobin.com, we'll be more than happy to talk with you and learn a little
Definitely,
bit more about what you're
definitely,
doing. Awesome. Thanks, Naveen.
definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you. It's nice talking to you.
you as well. Likewise. Hey, Cole, how's it going?
Robin, how's it going, man? Thanks for starting this room. I think it's really valuable for what you guys are talking about here. So first of all, I just want to say appreciate it. But what I'm working on currently right now is I'm in college and I'm working on a social platform. I'm sure you've heard that a million times, but we're working on a social platform that essentially solves the problem of connecting with and meeting new people efficiently and effectively, right? So there's a lot of friend making apps out there, but we haven't found that it solves the problem for college students that are in a specific area. So our app essentially allows it allows students to sign up and create a group with their existing close friends in a group size of maximum of 4. And then just like Tinder or Bumble or Hinge, you can swipe left and right on other friend groups and match with other friend groups. And we're in beta right now. So we're testing with about 100 users. That's about 35 groups right now. And we're just iterating our solution. But because our product is, because like the profiles aren't like real assets on the platform like any other networking site would be, when you swipe on a group, it goes away. So it's like we were almost having to, our product is like a hungry child, right? We have to continue feeding it new users. And we have to get a lot of users to test it out to see if people even like it in terms of if they match with people and they have a good experience. So my question is how do I figure out a way to either bring in early revenue to cover server costs? Or I know you're not talking specifically about fundraising, but how would I fundraise and raise a pre-seed or a seed round with not a lot of users so that I can cover the cost of the server to do an appropriate test?
Hey Cole, that's a great question. So this actually reminds me of when I was the the startup that I talked about in the talk that I gave a little bit earlier. It was actually another social media type platform as well. What I've learned after doing that is instead of building this platform, I think I could have done it easily or easier using what I call the mouse wheel method. And the mouse wheel method is just to use existing solutions that are already out there so you can facilitate whatever you're trying to do without having to spend all your time on building something. So as you start facilitating the service that you're putting out using existing solutions, then you can start getting traction that way. And as you're doing these processes manually, you can start automating these processes, et cetera. And that automation is usually what becomes your app. But when you start doing it this way, you can start getting that traction without having to worry about server costs and still be able to do what you're doing. This sounds a little tough to hear, I know, because I know if I was in your shoes, I had a lot of fun building out the product. And if people were like, hey, you don't need the social media network, just do it using a membership platform or a Facebook group, etc. I would have said no, like I want to do it this way. But I think now, after I lost so much money building out my MVP, I would have tried to mouse wheel it as much as I could have before I even thought about spending money on my product. Does that help, Cole?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I actually, so like that's exactly what I did wrong was we built a product and we did it the wrong way. And we basically just took a guess. We definitely had we definitely had points in time where there was validation, right, of the solution, parts of validation. So we ran a landing page with like a video of how the app would be used with like a XD recording, like an Adobe XD recording, and we had like 3,000 kids sign up for it that are willing and ready to use the app. We're just keeping it a small beta right now, but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I actually started to try, and essentially what you're saying is called time boxing, where you say, okay, in a month, I'm going to try to build something, or maybe not even build something, but try to solve this problem, right? Because if you're looking at it as there's people out there who have this problem and it's like hair on fire, right? If you could just build something extremely simple and solve it right now, that's the whole goal. And then if you find that the solution and the problem is real, then you can just scale it when you have to scale it, when you can't keep up with the demand because you're doing it manually. So, Robin, I actually tried the time boxing thing, because I had another problem I was experiencing with, and that is um, connecting and networking with startup founders. And I love Clubhouse. Like, I think this is the next radio. Like, I could sit here in a room and learn a ton, but it doesn't allow all the other people in this room to connect with each other, right? So I made a website called 730.com, and essentially at every day at 7:30 p.m. CST, I send out a Zoom link to a whole bunch of startup founders, and they join the Zoom and they get put in to breakout rooms of 5, and they get to just network with each other. I haven't ran a test yet, but I guess that is my version of time boxing and building an MVP with already existing things. Would that be considered something like you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. As you start building this customer list up, so you're getting like interest from all these different people, 2,000 people. There's value in that list that you're building up, and you can start thinking about doing affiliate deals or sponsorship deals with maybe local vendors in your college area, and start monetizing it, and then take some of that money to start growing your business slowly. Does that help, Cole?
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, but everything that you're doing, like it sounds like you're going the right way. Time boxing is a brand new word that I haven't heard, so I am going to go down the right rabbit hole on that one. Thank you for
Hmm.
introducing me to that world, to that word.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's because
Yeah,
I'm gonna use that to test the 730 idea and just say, okay, if within a month the idea starts to really grow and I can't keep track of the manual demand, right? Like me putting people in Zooms and breakout rooms, then I need to build a web app and I need to scale because there's a reason to scale, right? Not just because it's a good idea. There's actually a reason to do it.
yes.
Um,
Cool.
so
At the same time, there are off-the-shelf solutions that kind of like will allow you to do what you're kind of describing. So there's a
for
few
sure,
apps like
yeah.
AirMeet, for example. I don't know if you're a big AppSumo fan, but AirMeet was recently on AppSumo that'll allow you to do these breakout rooms and groups and
Hmm.
etc.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that
Yeah.
then. Awesome.
Yeah, and at the same time, like as far as meeting people in college and things like that, I live in Tulum, Mexico. So Tulum, it's like a very huge expat community, but
Hmm.
it's difficult to know where everyone is. So we use a combination of like Facebook group, but there's like all these WhatsApp groups that go
Yeah.
around. So if there's any parties or anything, there's like a party line. So if you know if there's any jungle parties going on, etc., you can learn about them in these WhatsApp groups. And if you're by yourself, you can find some other person to hang out with or find another a whole crew to hang out with, etc. So there's like other ways to facilitate what you're trying to do with these
Hmm.
off-shelf solutions. And I guess it's called time boxing. That's the word
Yeah.
for it.
Well, I mean, it's not really using off the shelf solutions. It's just time boxing is just, you can use an off the shelf solution, or you can build a no code, or um, building something that doesn't scale, right? Like what PG says, Paul Graham. And
Okay.
if you just a time boxing is just saying, okay, I'm gonna give this a month or 2 months or 3 months and see how it goes, and I'll set my KPIs. And if I'm not really reaching KPIs, you can either say, okay, I'll talk to users, get feedback, iterate on the solution, make it better, and then eventually,
That makes sense.
you get to a point where you're like, okay, either this is a thing that I need to work on and make better, or it's not a thing and I need to go on to the next solution and time box again. It's just a better way of not wasting your time like I did for 12 months with the first idea.
Okay. So I'm glad that you shared that full definition with me. I do want to just share one more thing.
Yeah,
When you're
sure.
time boxing, if you're starting with this idea first, pretty much you're just
Hmm.
doing a whole bunch of quick pivots and you're trying to fail as fast as you can, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. When you start with the customer niche first and the customer experience first, and you're actually going vertical and you do the vertical method,
Hmm.
what you'll find is you won't actually have to time box anymore because all your focus is on one niche. And especially if this niche is congruent with your core identity. So Cole,
Mm.
if this niche are like people like you like hanging out with startup founders, et cetera, you built the 730.com thing. So if you're
Okay.
serving those people, these people that'll feel like they're your best friends, if they call you up 3 o'clock in the morning on the weekend, you would love to hang out with them. It's not going to feel like a job anymore. So the thing is we're trying to make sure that we're not trapping ourselves into a job. And
Right.
the way that you do that is by surrounding yourself with people that love you and that you love yourself.
Mm.
Once you start focusing on this niche, then every single pivot is still catered to that niche. So you're not really time boxing. You're able to leverage this list that you're growing. So that
Yeah.
that key fundamental thing is actually just finding out what that niche should be.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying though? For time boxing, you could be in the niche of startup founders. You're like, what? You could say, I'm going to focus fully on startup founders and try to solve as many problems in that industry as I can. The time boxing thing is not to jump around an industry. It's just it gives you the opportunity to validate the problem, right? To see if you have a real problem or to see if your solution is real, right? Because sometimes people they'll fool themselves and say, oh, this is a real problem, or my app is going to work. And then they never talk to users. They never build something that doesn't scale. And then they waste 12 months like I did.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I absolutely
But
get it. I
I
think
like
what I'm
your
trying to
style though.
say, thanks. I think what I'm trying to say is when you start with that niche first, you really don't have to. Trying to gather my thoughts.
So is it
Yeah,
maybe I'm misunderstanding? Is it more of getting into that niche and just being so invested and involved in the niche that you know people in it and you've talked to people and you kind of understand the problems they're dealing with, and because you know people,
precisely.
okay,
Yes.
yep, I
Before
got it now.
before you start working on your idea or your solution, you understand the problem first. You
Yeah,
understand the people, you're getting feedback from the people, and then you go viable mock-up. So you're not even
mm,
like building a low code platform or anything like that, but you just create the marketing materials and go try to sell that. If people
all right.
actually buy it, then you will have validated your idea with real money, and that will give you confidence to actually go develop.
So if we could give everybody one thing they could walk away from today, and that would be to get good at sales, right? Not necessarily that you're selling something, but to get to know people and understand their problem and really discover the truth and what people deal with is sales, right? That's a discovery call. That's qualifying. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying, you know what I'm saying. So
No, no, exactly. It's all about sales. As entrepreneurs, we typically get enthralled with the product and we start building out this product and we're super consumed because it feels like we're playing with Legos, right? And you just start building it, but then once you start trying to bring people to use your Legos or whatever, then it doesn't work like you found out in the 12 months. But we've all been there, and now you know the vertical method, and I hope that helps. What I do want to do is I want to quickly reset the room. What we are
yeah,
talking
sure.
about Yes, what we are talking about is vertical startups. How a vertical startup benefits you is that it gives you empowerment and alignment. It allows you to skip investor funding because we are establishing founder market fit. Instead of going into debt and building out an MVP, we are building an asset, which is our customer list with an MVM, our minimal viable mockup. And again, your minimal viable mockup is only the marketing materials you needed to convert a sale. This is actually the end of the course. Thank you so much, Cole, Chris, and Anna for joining us up on stage. Anna, thank you so much for moderating
Robin,
as
I have a
well.
query. Like, I'll take 1 minute of your time.
Chris, I do actually have to go, but if you send me a DM, I'll be happy to respond there. We had that vertical startup summit. Tickets for the summit was $97, but if you want the top 5 talks from the summit, for example, one of the videos that you'll learn is how to prep your startup for acquisition from day one. I will be more than happy to share that with you. So send me a DM with the hashtag VSS, and we will see you around on Clubhouse. This is Robin Copernicus. Boom, bam, I'm out.